All right. So today we have Zach Nguyen. Got a real interesting story. So yeah, thanks for coming over, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So I just recently turned 40.
40. Okay.
Yeah, so my 40th birthday, I was just like, let's just try to raise some monies and, do something positive for my 40th. And doing so, I just wanted to give back, whatever I raised just to give back to the community.
Yeah.
And never expected Cake News to get a hold of the story. And,
Yeah.
same thing, wanted to sit down and interview me and, just help in any way that they can too, which,
Yeah.
it was nice.
Yeah,
But, I don't think a lot of people still got to really know my story.
Yeah.
Unless, people yourself just hit me up. It's here my
Yeah.
opportunity to tell my story a little bit.
Yeah. That's what I think's cool. Like, I'm glad I did see it because it's a very interesting story. Like, but I love the news, but the problem with the news is you only get a little snippet. So that's why I wanted, I reached out to you and then found out, man, you have a pretty telling story to go through.
Storytelling, it takes me back to a moment in time where, it was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
So, it's exciting for me to be able to tell the story.
Yeah.
So, most definitely.
So with first time guest on here, usually I like to go back to born and raised. So like, where were you?
Pretty much born and raised here, Wichita, Kansas. My mom, where she was an immigrant, she fled her country. This is after the war with Vietnam. So we're first generation Asian American in the United States.
Okay.
So
you're first born over?
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty much. Well, obviously our parents are first, and then we're first born.
Yeah. First immigrated, and then you're first born stateside, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Obviously with that comes, being raised in poverty, because you're not going to come into a country being rich already. You're coming in at the bottom of the barrel,
Yeah.
So, my whole entire childhood was in poverty, and that's what started, a lot of the troubles that I had growing up.
Okay.
My dad, he left at a pretty early age. He was into gambling and just couldn't provide, and so he left when I was pretty young, 2-3 years old. So not much memory of him, but again, that helped shape to where I'm at today. Also, just not having him in my life, wanting him in my life, and then now understanding, where my life is without him. So it's full circle.
Okay. So you grew up basically in the Wichita area, then going to school here, then. And, we've heard this, this is a common story without a father or something like that to, act out a little bit, and it leads to going down, making some bad choices.
So most of my life as a kid, I didn't know any better. Like my surrounding, my environment shapes me, and who you're going to be. And so, I never knew I was poor. I just thought it was normal. Like, you look around you. I lived in the area, right over there on Central and Hydraulic.
Okay.
Right smack downtown,
Oh, okay.
I walked to school every day as a kid. I see homeless people, drug addicts. Like, it was all normal to me,
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm 5, 6, 7 years old walking to school. Like, I shouldn't be walking to the school in that neighborhood, but again, it's normal, and for me, it was, it was really nothing. And going to school, it was tough going to school because, you're a minority and there's not many.
Yeah.
There's a few of us dominantly, whites and blacks. And and with that, it's like, it was hard for me to fit in at first because, again, I didn't know English either.
Okay.
I'm born and raised in the U.S., but it's like my mom only speaks Vietnamese.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't get out, so I don't know English until I go to school, which is kindergarten. And so at school, I adapted pretty quickly, but I remember just early on in life, I just wanted to fit in. And in order to do that, I needed to be different. I needed to be funny. And at the same time, I also needed to be tough, in a way to where, like, okay, you know what, I don't like getting picked on, so I needed to be the bully.
Yeah.
And a lot comes with that also with just, being raised with not a lot of love and affection.
Yeah.
My mom, she was young. She was 20, 21 years old when she had me. Single mother. Her dad living with us also to help take care of my mom and myself. So I didn't have much as a kid.
Okay.
So my trouble started with looking for love and attention outside of the home, which is school and getting in trouble, and that's where it kind of all started.
That's where it all started.
Yep,
okay.
That's where it all started.
And then so just getting with the wrong group of friends,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
yeah. And then
from then on, first I want to touch on just growing up.
Okay.
Poor is extremely important to my growth because of, I'm lucky to be where I'm at today. Most kids, that aren't able to get out of their environment,
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough. I mean, I took a lot of risks. I got into a lot of trouble, but it made way for me to be where I'm at today. But up until, middle school, I actually stayed in apartments most of my entire life, like just poor communities. And then I ended up actually burning, started a fire at my apartment complex when I was in the 5th grade.
Oh.
And, they called the cops and we got kicked out. So we moved to the east side. And then it was during that time when I started middle school. And so my mom got a job second shift.
Okay. So she went home at night.
No. So the thing is, for me, is I had daycare and babysitters.
Okay.
So from the moment I go to school, I get out, I don't have a home. I'm going to daycares and babysitters.
Right.
And at this time, I've been going my whole entire life.
Yeah.
Even in elementary school. But it was middle school when she went to second shift.
Okay.
And so, with that, after school, I would be at babysitters until 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. She would come pick me up. So, I didn't have a relationship with my mom. I hated my life. I just didn't have any attention or love or a home. And I spent all my time being raised in daycares, whereas all these other kids, they're like 4 or 5 years old. Here I am, 10, 11. So I'm being used to take care of these kids, and I'm there because of, welfare, childcare. Like, my mom's not paying for it. It's just someone just watching me, but they're not really watching me. I'm just there to watch their other kids,
Oh, okay.
So that was, part of the reason where eventually in the 8th grade, I just man, I can't do this no more, So as a 13-year-old kid, I decided to run away.
Okay.
So all my troubles started at 13 years old when I decided to run away. It wasn't until middle school where I started, I came along and started meeting other Asian minorities such as myself.
Okay.
So, it's easy for me to find a group, that were like me growing up, poor, were Asians. We didn't want to be picked on. We wanted to click up and, have a love for one another in our group, So it was at that time I decided to run away, and it wasn't just me running away. It was a couple of my friends running away.
Okay.
And so from that moment on, that's when my life changed dramatically.
Okay.
From the time I was 13 all the way till I was 18. So my whole 5 years of being a teenager, I spent more time in boys' homes than I did on the streets.
Okay.
But I started off running away. I was living on the streets. I was in the trouble with the law, gangbanging, and, just doing a bunch of little knucklehead stuff. Got sent to my first boys' home at 13 years old. I went to court, for shoplifting and stuff. Okay. Well, at this point, the court's going to take custody of me.
Okay.
Because my mom's not able to, take care of me.
Okay.
I'm out of control, so she doesn't even have the rights to me anymore. I'm, pretty much taken by the city. So I get sent to a boys' home. You got to do, 4 to 6 months there with good behavior. They release you back home to your parents. And I did that. And, my first boys' home was 13 years old. I came home, but immediately, as soon as I came home, I was like, I didn't want to be home. Yeah. Home was the last place I wanted to be. I wanted to quickly be with my friends. When I say my friends, the gang,
Yeah.
I wanted to be with the gang. These are my boys that, who I wanted to be around. They were the first ones to show me love and attention. So it's like, this is who I want to be around, They're like my brothers and stuff. They're older. They're like 16 years old, And so, yeah, that's where it started. I got in trouble again. I violated my probation because I can't follow curfew. I can't go to school because, I'm just being rebellious, not thinking about consequences and stuff. I was just thinking about being on the streets with my friends, doing dumb stuff. So I get arrested again. I get sent to a second boys' home. This time, I have one of my friends there. He was about to go home. And so, but he had like a couple weeks left. I had to do a whole 4 or 5 more months.
Okay.
And I'm like, hey, it's summertime. I don't want to be here. Let's run. And my friend, he's a good friend. He's like, okay, let's run. We're just being bad influences on each other. We're just, showing support and love in all the wrong ways.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So obviously he's like, yeah, let's go. So we take off. I have my friends pick us up. We're on the run for the summer. And then I get arrested again. So this time they sent me to boot camp. Probably 14, 15 years old. There's no running this time. There's barbed wire fences everywhere. It's ran like a boot camp where, everything is just strict, But, I felt right at home.
Okay.
I felt at home because, again, I'm familiar with these boys' homes. You get to know other individuals such as myself. We're kind of in the system. We're in the juvenile system. We get to know one another. All the different races, gangs, blacks, whites, Mexicans. It's you know them all. And it becomes home, familiar with it, and so it was a piece of cake. It wasn't a piece of cake, but it's like I enjoyed it because again I have structure, home, food. I wasn't back on the streets. I was homeless or didn't have food. I was living in poverty. So being in boys' homes, I was kind of taken care of, and at the same time, you look forward to being home again. So you do what you're supposed to do. I did that. I got out. Same thing again. I'm 15 years old. I back on the streets. I need to go back to school, but I can't function in school. I missed the whole 8th grade year on the run. I'm thrown into 9th grade. I'm locked up in the 9th grade. So, I can't, school, I just couldn't do it, not while I'm out there. My mind was back on going back to my friends, hanging out with the gang.
Yeah.
At that time, Asian gangs were pretty big in Wichita. We would get into it with other rival gang members. One of them went to my school, and so I ended up getting into a fight with one of them, and they put me on house arrest. And on house arrest, I'm just like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I need to get out of here. So I ended up cutting my bracelet and going on the run again. And this time I got arrested again. This time they sent me to another boys' home. But this time the boys' home is 6 hours away.
Okay.
Out in the middle of nowhere.
In the state still, or?
Yeah, it's still a state. It's like northeast Kansas. You're sent off to a ranch.
Okay.
A boys, and again, I'm back into a boys' home with. I'm always going to know somebody because for the last 3 years, I've been in and out of the system with the same people.
Okay.
You're in the system. You're kind of stuck in the system. You belong to the city until you finish your probation. So it's like your life is constantly under a microscope as a kid. You have to go to school. You have to follow curfew. You can't get in trouble with the law, which sounds easy, but it wasn't easy for me because the last place I wanted to be was home. So I finished that, I come home. I'm 16 now. That's already 3 years of my life in and out, 4 different places.
Yeah.
And so, now it's like, it's what's normal for me as a teenager. This is normal for me. Like, I get out and the first thing I want to do is be back on the streets again. The gang that I joined and started, it started off as 5 of us. It grew to about 40 of us. I sent you some pictures. You see,
yes, I could put them up on the screen if you want. No, if you want me to share them, or
I don't mind. But
okay,
it's just more so. It's easier to visualize how bad we were, or the group that we were at. So, for me,
or will they mind if I put the pictures up? Or
honestly, half of them are dead in jail or
oh no,
addicts.
okay,
You know, that's why here I am telling my story, because at the end of the day, I'm just wanting to make a difference for the younger youth that grew up in the same situation as me. So it's a kind of long story. So I'll keep going.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. So I'm 16 years old. I'm out there doing dumb stuff because I'm trying to make money. For bad habits. Just having money as a kid. I never had money.
Yeah.
So I'm out there doing all the stuff. Robbing people, robbing houses, jacking cars, decks, CD players. Whatever. Any way to make money. And one day I ended up getting caught. Breaking into a house. And when they arrested me, they also found a bunch of stolen cars in the back at my friend's house. So I got charged as my first felony charges. They gave me a year. And this time, they're not sending me to a boys' home no more. I'm graduating from that. I'm going to a juvenile prison now.
Oh, okay.
So I go to a juvenile prison. They gave me a year. And again, it was just, I'm so used to it to where like it's, okay, a year. I got a date that coming home. I'm gonna go in there and enjoy my time with my friends that are sitting in the system with me. We're going through the same process. Again, at that time, I've always had one of my friends with me because we were so deep. Like again, there's 30, 40 Asians, 5 or 10 of us to be on the run at the same time or incarcerated because we're just doing in and out, in and out.
Okay.
So I always had a friend or two with me, so I never felt alone. I always had my friends, and then when while I was locked away, we bonded in there to where like we felt like this is our home. We're gonna make this place as comfortable as possible, and while in there, I adapted to always what I enjoy as a teenager growing up was having games. I played a lot of cards, sports, stuff that I was engaged in doing, which most kids, they love doing that, but I had to do it inside because I didn't have that home growing up. I didn't have toys. I didn't have, I spent all my time on the streets playing, but I never had board games, card games. So I was real big into that. I love just, playing cards and knowing that I'm smarter than majority of the kids around me. We would gamble, but we would gamble for like food and snacks and stuff, So, I got a kick out of that, and I always wanted extra snacks and stuff. And it was crazy. But I did a year. I got out. 17. I got out. I'm turning 18 in a couple months. I got out June 3rd, 17 years old. I still remember to this day. My birthday's in August, so I had 2 months of probation that I needed to do. I needed to complete my probation before I got off, So, but, karma has a way of catching up to you. And I say that because, throughout my 4 or 5 years on the streets, gangbanging and, you do a lot of bad things, There's a lot of people that we beat up on or, a lot of my friends passed away. A lot of my friends were shot and killed the other side. And, it catches up with you. Well, one of our rival gang members that we got into it with one day, we ran into him. We ended up getting jumped. It was 4 of us, 4 of us. There was like 15 of them. At that time, I knew, we had it coming because it was always us, doing things to them. So they retaliated, and I ended up getting stabbed. But I never knew I got stabbed. I got stabbed 5, 6 times, multiple times.
This is still all before you're 18,
all before
right?
I'm 18.
Okay.
All before I'm 18. So, I get into a situation where like I'm about to. I was out of town, so they needed to fly me to a helicopter. They flew me in a helicopter to the hospital because I didn't know why. I just knew I was dying, and I didn't know why. I thought I got kicked in the ribs really hard because I couldn't breathe. So I just kept breathing. I was dying for air. And so, I'm in the hospital. I mean, I'm in the helicopter. And at this time, this is where I just knew at that moment I was going to die. I was dying for air. I didn't know why. I was going in and out of conscious. Next thing you know, my life started just flashing in front of me, like my whole life, like memories I had as a kid that I didn't even know existed. It was all coming back to me. And, it was like memories that, it was sad memories. There was nothing really, good.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I kind of like, I just started like praying to God, I never grew up like, really religious or anything, but I always just believed in God, but I never really, thought much about it. But at that moment, I just knew like, hey, just forgive me for my sins. That's my thoughts, And the only thing I thought about at that moment was my mom. Like, dang, like I don't have a chance to say goodbye to my mom.
Yeah.
And that's all I thought about at the moment. But the thing is, all the way up until that moment, I never cared. I mean, maybe I cared, but it's like I didn't know that I cared, how much I needed her, but I never had her, if that makes sense. It's one of those things where like, as you get older, you learn to appreciate, but as a, adolescent and juvenile, like I didn't know any better, So, I started praying to God. I was just asking him, for my forgiveness. I always knew that I wasn't living right, but I always felt like, he knew my heart. And so, when that happened, by the time I get to the hospital, it was hard for me to breathe. I kind of like almost wanted to give up. I remember the nurse telling me, we're just going to put you to sleep. And when you wake up, everything's going to be okay. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, you're just lying to me. You just want me to go peacefully. But, everything goes black. Everything goes pitch black. And I'm like, okay, this is it. But then I see a light, from a distance. So in my mind, I was like, what is that? And I'm getting pulled towards it, like gravitating towards the light. And I'm just like, okay, oh man, maybe I'm going to heaven. I don't know, but in that time I felt at peace, but I don't have a body. It's just air. I'm being sucked towards this light. And in my mind, I'm just like, oh, I'm going to heaven. And I'm getting closer and closer to this light. And at the end of the light, in my head, what I picture is like, okay, that's Jesus. He's gonna let me through,
Yeah.
Well, before I get to him, everything goes black again. I'm like, oh no, what's happening, And when you wake up in a bedroom and someone turns on the light and you see like this redness, but your eyes are still closed. It's kind of like that redness, but it's like a scary red. I'm like, oh shit, did I just get rejected? I'm like, oh man, I don't know what's going on, but then I thought I was going to hell or something, So, and then I wake up in the hospital.
Okay.
And then I woke up in the hospital, and then I just realized what happened. I had died and came back to life. I got stabbed multiple times, and one of the stab wounds was in my lung. So I had a punctured lung, and I was drowning in my own blood, which I didn't know.
Okay.
Every time I'm taking a breath, my lungs just filling up with blood.
Yeah.
And so they stuck a tube in my lung, and sucked out all the blood, and brought me back to life. I found out my friend that was with me, he got stabbed, but unfortunately he passed away because he got stabbed in the heart.
Oh,
so,
shoot.
For me, it was just like one of those things like, I couldn't, process everything at that time. The moment I woke up, the cops came into my room.
Yeah.
They were already know what happened, And for me, I grew up with pride and, not cooperating and, snitching or anything. So when they show me pictures, I just act like I didn't know who they were, like, I don't know, like never seen them, don't know who they are, I don't know anything. The crazy thing is they all ended up telling on themselves anyways.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Yeah. They're a different gang and, for me, I had a lot of pride in my gang. I was like, ain't nobody in our gang going to be telling or anything like that. So that happened. And so, with me, so yeah, this was from me being stabbed.
Oh, good.
They had to do surgery on me. They had to cut me open real quick to perform their surgery on me. And luckily, they saved me.
Yeah.
So, this is weeks before I'm 18.
Yeah.
Again, I violated my probation. I'm getting sent back to juvenile prison, like I'm still a juvenile. And so while I was in custody, I had 40 staples down my stomach. I couldn't move, couldn't do anything. On my 18th birthday at midnight, yeah, they took me to county jail.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, here I am. I graduated from boys' home, boot camp, juvenile prison. I finally made it to the big boys.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, I was kind of excited, which sounds crazy,
Yeah.
Not excited, but like excited to finally don't have to deal with juvenile anymore. I felt like I had more freedom in being in county jail. And the only thing I was looking forward to was like commissary.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's kind of stupid how my thought process was, but, it's just those little things, when what's going to keep you going, like, so, that happens. And, I end up doing 6 months for violating my probation again. I get out. This time I'm 18, and I was just like, okay, something's got to change. This time now, a whole new thing comes along, which is drugs. Drugs, money. It came at me really fast. I started, there's a drug called ecstasy.
Yeah.
So I had some friends that were able to get me some to where I started selling pills. I wanted to make money, I got off probation at 18 easily because, again, I don't have to go to school or the curfew is not strict anymore. So I'm able to get off probation,
Yeah.
no problem, as long as I don't get in trouble, I'm good. So I got off probation. And now I felt free, you know. Now I can do whatever I want to do, move around however, I don't have a curfew. So now I'm very involved with the streets, And when I say that, it means like, I'm hustling, and, with that, I became a big drug dealer, not just for Wichita, but for the whole Midwest. I was selling to Kansas City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, people from Dallas, Nebraska. I started off selling 10, 20 pills to hundreds to thousands of pills. I went from never having money in my life, maybe a couple $100 from doing illegal stuff that I was doing. But now I'm in the drug game where like I went from by the time I was 18 or 19, I probably made over $100,000. And before that, I never even had $1,000 in my entire life. So you can imagine my lifestyle and how I carried myself. I walked around, felt like, this is my city. I own this city. I got the biggest gang, got the biggest money.
Yeah.
Like, I felt unstoppable at that time, And, and that's when, again, the territory comes with the way that I'm living is because my environment, my surroundings, the people I'm around, we're just a bunch of kids that don't know any better. I don't have any adults, no mentors or anything, so I had to lead the way for myself, And, the first thing I did was, here, Mom, here's $30,000. Let's go put it down on a new house for us. So, I felt like I was accomplishing something,
Yeah.
It was all illegal. I didn't know any better. I was just an 18-year-old kid, just felt like I was just hustling because I thought that was my gift,
Yeah.
I thought it was my calling. It may sound stupid, but I was like, man, I'm made for this,
Yeah.
For me to build this empire, like it was contagious.
Yeah.
So, here I am for the next 3 years, from 18 to 21. I went from dealing to becoming a wholesaler, to where like I thought I was smart. I thought if I never touched the drugs, if someone else did it for me, I would never get in trouble. I never knew what the feds were. I just thought I watched movies where like, feds kicking down doors, wiretaps, all that stuff. Well, that all happened to me.
Oh, no.
It happened to me when I was 21. The feds came kicking down my door. They have done a investigation on ecstasy, So me and my gang, we got indicted. They arrested 28 of us. Majority of it being my friends of gangs and stuff. They did a 3-year investigation. We had over 100 charges, counts. Lots of. For the crazy thing is, for me, a lot of it was ghost dope, meaning like they never actually caught me with any drugs. But it's a federal indictment. If you go to court, you're not gonna win. They have a 98% conviction rate.
Because they've been building the cases.
Oh yeah,
so
they build
long.
a case, and you have the case involves. They ended up building an extended case called superseding indictment, where they go arrest 20 more people. So we had like 50 people associated with our group.
Okay.
And and it starts from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
All they wanted to do was keep building the case. And I got lucky because by the time that I had stopped, my friends kept going.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants a piece of the pie now.
Yeah.
You know, I was wholesaling to the point where like now I can't, I was bringing in 10, 20,000 pills. I mean, that's a lot of pills,
Yeah.
And, in order to get that amount, you had to pick up a lot to get low cost. Pills go for like $20 a pill. I was getting them for like $3. So you can imagine I was slanging them for, and I was trying to do it the easy way. I wasn't like, nickeling and diming anymore. I was selling to wholesalers. I was selling thousands at a time, just to make 5 transactions, 5,000 a week. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, now it's to the point where the streets are flooded with the same, every week or two, there's new flavors,
Okay.
And for me, it's like, I'm picking up 20,000 Snickers.
Okay.
Well, after I sell 10,000, people want Twix or Skittles. Well, I still got Snickers.
Okay.
Well, how do I get rid of this? I got stuck with a lot of drugs. I don't know how to get rid of it. Everybody else is picking up new flavors. Now I'm kind of like getting pushed out the game, because I've done, set a standard, for, so eventually I got out, but when I got out, it was already too late. I just, made it easier by not going heavy consistently, My friends they're unfortunate. They kept going. And so when we all got arrested, it was one of those things where like, we're doomed. There was people that was cooperating, they got some time off. Majority of my close main friends, none of us ended up telling. They came to me, same deal, hey, you can do 2 years. You can get out now if you want to cooperate and, lead us to the person that you're getting your supplies from. So for me, I'm very loyal to the streets. I was just like, my pride wouldn't let me, just like, I don't know who there's nobody else, So, if I would have went to trial, I would have got 20 years, but instead they gave me 8 years. So they gave me 8 years at 21 years old.
Okay.
So now I went from boys' home, juvenile prison, county jail. I skipped the state, went straight to the feds.
Yeah.
At 21 years old. But it was definitely life-changing for how it shaped my life to where I am at today.
Yeah.
It was definitely a blessing in disguise. I wouldn't know it at the time, but I do know now. Again, they sent me to Arkansas federal prison. It's about 3,000 people. It's like 8 hours away from here. It's on the border of like Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas. So this, the feds, they can send you anywhere. You're not state. You're just not going to go to Hutchinson or El Dorado. You're going to your federal. They'll send you anywhere.
Yeah.
And so my district for federal is either Leavenworth. There's Leavenworth prison there, and then the other places where I ended up going. The time that it gave me, it's like, I keep saying this, but it's not a good thing, but for me, it was normal for me. I've been through the system. I've been around boys, men my whole entire life. Like I know how to navigate in prison, and I know how to, just, make it as comfortable as possible for me. Most others don't have that, free will to move around as they please. But for me, it was a lot easier, especially in federal prison. It's all about gangs, or what group you're with or where you're from, South, the Midwest, if you're with the Mexican car, if you're with Bloods, Crips. Well, for usually Asian people, we're a very small group. So, our group, we just hang out with the Asians. And luckily, there's only like 12 of us. There's not a lot of trouble when you have a small group compared to bigger gangs and stuff. So what made it so easy for me in there was the prison I went to, they're ran by Texas Syndicate, which is a Mexican mafia gang from Texas. It was close to their home, so that's why it was their prison. Usually every prison has certain gangs that, majority runs it,
I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all
so
about,
they straight up claim.
It's like
okay.
If you go to prison and you're a Crip,
yeah,
and they're not gonna send you to a prison full of Bloods.
Okay.
They're gonna try to protect you.
Yeah.
You know, as best as they can.
Yeah.
You're Mexican, they're going to put you with your gang. They're not going to put you with your rival gang members because that's just asking for trouble.
Okay.
So that was like, you know, they send all the people to that district that, you know, kind of like can't get along, you know.
Okay.
For the blacks, same thing. They, you know, there's just so many different gangs where it's just how you navigate it all.
Okay.
My thing was, again, I go back to since I was 13 years old, I enjoyed playing cards, games. I've always gambled. I always like strategy. I like, you know, playing basketball, football. So here I am at prison. What am I going to do with my time? Mm-hmm. You know, if I'm on the yard, I'm playing basketball, football, handball, volleyball, any kind of sport. But during the day, the moment I got there, I started playing poker. And immediately, you know, I'm winning. I'm winning every week. The table is ran by one of the Mexican gangs. They get a cut out of it. So I was winning so much to where they told me, hey, we'll back you. You play, whatever you lose, we'll pay it. Whatever you win, we split it. So as soon as I got in there, I already had it made. Like I was 21, 22 years old. I got the biggest Mexican gang backing me up to where no one's going to mess with me. I get along with all the races just because, you know, again, you know, it's easy for us to get along with a lot of different races because we're a small group.
Yeah.
I got into it real good with all the people from Kansas. You know, I ran with, you know, just because at the end of the day, I represent Kansas because I'm from Kansas.
Yeah.
You know, there's the Midwest car. We call it a car, which is a gang. Well, I ran with the Midwest. I ran with the Asians. I got the Mexicans backing me up. So, in a way, the prison was like my backyard. You know, like I've had a lot of. As a young kid, I had a lot of pride still, you know, like, it's like, you know, I run this, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I became a bookie in there. I did sports betting because I love sports.
Yeah.
Again. So I made it real easy for me. Don't get it wrong. There's a lot of tough times in there, but, you know, again, you're in prison. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I just made it as easy as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But throughout my whole time, I played a lot of poker. You know, poker is like a game of people reading for me. Mm-hmm. I gravitated towards because it's one of those things. Like imagine you work for a company and you're going to a meeting, right?
Yeah.
And we're in Texas. We got a meeting. It's going to be 10 hours long.
Yeah.
And we need to, you know, figure out a plan to execute, right?
Yeah.
Well, here I am with 8 other people. We're playing cards all day long, right?
Yeah.
And my job is, you know, after 2 hours, you're going to get to know somebody, right? You're going to know who has a lot of money. You're going to know who's a leader. You're going to know who's quiet, who's shy, who's tight, you learn personalities, you know? And, for me, it's like I know personalities. I know, again, I've been in boys' home prisons my whole life to where I know how to navigate and, you know, read personalities. I know who's really tough. I know who's, you know, fake. You know, I can tell people's intentions, you know, if who's relaxed, who's nervous. You know, you get a read on people. You know their personalities. So you're playing cards, but it's not about the 2 cards you have. It's about how you play your cards. So even if I'm not playing in a hand, I don't know if you play poker much or have played
really.
poker.
No.
So poker is a game of, you know, you all start with the same amount of money and you're trying to win each other's money and you're playing cards. And, you know, so for me, even if I'm not playing in a hand, everything you do becomes a pattern. Your personality shows in playing cards, you know, like how you play your cards when you have a lot of chips, how you play your cards when you're desperate.
So you're able to read people, basically.
And poker is a game of, it's patience, you know, you got to have a lot of patience, you know. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I did that most of my time and I made a living off of it in prison.
Okay.
So eventually when I got released, that's what I did. You know, I was like, you know what? I'm going to use the money that I have. I'm good at gambling. I'm going to go to Vegas and I'm going to play poker. I'm going to play poker wherever I can and make money off of that. So, you know, yes, prison saved me in a way where I could have been in the streets still selling drugs. You know, I was also using heavily while I was selling, of course. So, you know, I could have turned out, you know, became an addict. You know, or I could have died in the streets. You know, a lot of my friends, they did died. A lot of them served time. Some of them are fortunate enough to serve time with me. I wouldn't say fortunate enough, but again, same path as me, you know. Some of them are doing really good today, but for the most part, most didn't make it. But it gave me an opportunity to, you know, prison was the first time in my life where I'm around people where I'm 21 years old. I meet people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Some people are never going home, you know.
Yeah.
Some are. And you get to see the joy on faces when their exit date is coming up.
Yeah.
You know, for people that did 10 years. And then you see the joy on people that's doing 1 year. You know, it really gave me an opportunity to, you know, reflect on myself and, you know, like, okay, is this what I want to be doing when I'm 30 years old or when I'm 40 years old? You know, like what led me to where I'm at today. I had a lot of growth in there. You know, again, I'm around adults now, you know, where like I can learn off of them, you know.
Yeah.
From their mistakes and their stories, you know, from people that are never going home. Like I have an exit date, you know.
Yeah.
8 years is long, but you know, I can do good, get out in 6.5 years. So I had something to look forward to. But this time I had a purpose, you know, like, you know, I made a living for myself while I was in there playing cards. So I came home, you know, and it gave me an opportunity to set a foundation from playing poker. And then with that, once I made some money from playing poker, I was able to get into real estate. You know, I got into real estate by using the cash that I made playing poker. I would buy homes and rehab it, you know, and then flip it, make some money off of that. And then I used the money to, you know, start up businesses that I never thought I would be doing. So I got into, you know, little things here and there. So it definitely got me to where I'm at today.
Okay.
So that was most of my life. I got out when I was 28. By then, I done spent third of my life, you know, in and out of boys' home and prisons, you know.
Yeah.
I come home at 28. That's 12 years ago. And since then, it's been forever ago, you know, and how I carry myself now. And, you know, it's just very humbling. And again, I had the opportunity to start from nothing, you know. And
Yeah.
I go back to, you know, I reflect back on my life again. It's like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be dead. You know, I was saved. And, you know, obviously when I was saved, what I do go right back to the streets, you know, and God was like, okay, you know what? Enough of this. You need to go back again. And so now here I am, you know, it's like, well, what is it that I want to do? Well, you know, I'm at a point in my life now where, you know, I've always hustled, you know. I always try to make a living in not the normal way because I didn't have education, I didn't have college. My hustle was just, you know, reading people, and now that, you know, it put me in a situation where like now I have money to be able to invest in what I look forward to now is constantly how can I make money on top of more money. And then, you know, before turning 40, I was like, okay, you know what? At the end of the day, I have kids now. What am I going to do with all the money that I make? You know, it doesn't really matter how much I make anymore. My life is comfortable. My kids are financially well off. So at this point, it's like, what am I doing it for? You know, and for me, it gave me purpose to where like, okay, you know what? I will always remember how it was like growing up with nothing, you know, without no love, without money. And for me, it's, you know, that's where the GoFundMe started, you know, for me just wanting to give back to the community, you know. I remember there was a time I was at the children's home when I was a kid as a runaway. I ran away from the children's home.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't there long. I was there for one night. So, but again, it's like one of those things where like I want to invest in the youth for foundation for them to where, you know, to make a difference, you know, because again, I didn't have none of that growing up, you know, and now I know what it means. And it's easy for me to be able to, you know, you know, for them to recognize that I went through what you were going through. I know how it's like, you know.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't have a chance to understand or learn or know until I went to prison. It was too late. But these kids nowadays, you know, they still have a path that they can, you know, take. You know, my biggest thing is like, you know, I want to tell my story because it's a story that most people aren't fortunate enough to tell.
Yeah.
You know, I'm supposed to be dead. You know, the life that I was living it's really bad, you know. So now here I am. It's just a complete 180. The people that knew me prior to getting out of prison, they don't know this side of me. And the people that I met after prison didn't know my past.
Yeah.
Because how I carry myself differently. Because I realized like how I carry myself is my image, you know? Right. My image growing up, I wanted to be badass because I didn't want nobody to mess with me. But that's no way to walk around life, you know, because I just didn't know any better. You know, it's just, you don't know any better.
Yeah.
Most people don't know any better. You know, it's your perception of what people think of you. And for me now, my perception is, you know, why would I want to go to a meeting wearing flip-flops and shorts and stuff? It's like, it's how you carry yourself, how you perceived. And, you know, again, it just goes back to me just trying to make a difference now. I raised almost $8,000, which was nice, you know, because at first I was just like, you know, $8,000. I'm just going to go write a check to Youth Horizon, to the pickleball community, and to the children's home. But I was like, now I have a platform to where, like, again, what am I good at? I'm good at doubling up, right? Yeah. So here I am. I'm going to write them all a check, use some money left to host more events, charity events, and make some more money and continue to give back with a purpose, you know? Because at the end of the day, it's like I can have hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I can't take it to the grave with me.
Right.
So now I have a mindset of, you know, well, how do I, you know, raise money to give back to the needed, you know? And that's my biggest thing now.
Just helping give back to kids in the community.
I have kids of my own now.
Yeah.
My wife, she has 2 boys. They're 13 and 11. I have my daughter. She's 9. And then we have a newborn, which is 7 months. Okay. So we have 4 kids. Okay. And having kids gave me, you know, totally
It changes you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. You know, again, it's one of those things where now I'm trying to learn how to be a parent to boys that are just, you know, doing dumb stuff. And how do you, you know, get them to understand, like,
try to break through to them.
Yeah, but it's a lot different for them. They go to a good school. Okay. They go to a good community. Yeah. They're not around poverty. We live on the outside of Wichita.
Oh, you're talking about your kids?
Yeah. Okay. So they would never know the life that I lived as a kid. Yeah. I mean, the purpose is to do that, right? I mean, as a family, you want to get out of the ghetto and out to the, you know, outer city to where you live a safe, you know, life. But for me, it's like I always remember how I was growing up, poor. So that's why I gravitate towards, you know, wanting to always kind of go back to that, you know? Yeah. Because I see how spoiled my kids are. Yeah. They have no idea. And I really, you know, it makes me kind of like, you know, I envy them, but it's like I hate it, you know? Like I wish they get to experience what I did, you know? Yeah. And then for me, you know, my faith is like, you know, I have purpose, you know, obviously with God, and you know, I feel like life it's just so quick. Earth has been here for forever, for millions of years, and our life here is just so temporary. What, 70, 80 years, you know, it's like it's quick, you know. And for me, it's like, you know, I have so much that I've gained from it, and I feel like life is kind of like a game, you know, like you're born into this world, and what is your purpose in this world? How do you make a difference? What do you want to do with your life? You know, what if you chose your life? Because at the end of the day, you know, why it is that you're put here on this planet, you know? Yeah. And for me, it's like, I see my kids, they're raised in good. Yeah. I was raised in bad. What do they have to gain? You know, like, I feel like I have a lot more to gain because I started from the bottom. So I get to witness the bottom, and I get to witness the growth to, I witnessed having no money to a lot of money to having no money again. Yeah. So here I am again. You know, it's like I witnessed the struggles. The kids that I have, they don't have any struggles. So if you're the universe and God is just like, you know what kind of life do you want to have? What do you want to gain? You know, because it's really quick. What path do you want to take? Do you want to be born in a rich family where everything's given to you? Or do you want to be born handicapped? Do you know, like, what is it that you want to learn in this lifetime, you know? And so for me, I felt like, you know, hey, this is a game. How do I get from here to here? You know? Because now I got to experience everything from here. So I feel blessed to be able to have growth and understanding. So it's easier for me to, know what I want to do now,
Yeah.
because, I experienced a lot, and a lot of people that are a lot of normal people that aren't raised in poverty will never know what it is to experience poverty,
Right.
and a lot of that had to do with, a broken home, no dad, just, and it's so common for a lot of kids, Luckily for me, I was able to get out of it, but it wasn't an easy ride.
Yeah. So I had one of my best friends over here on here. He's his dad was firstborn Mexican over here. So and when I originally had him come over here and come on here, originally we were just gonna like, just talk stuff.
Yeah.
Politics, war, something like that. I don't know. Well, it ended up going a completely different way because I asked the born and raised question. I remember he was born in Kentucky, but I didn't remember his growing up. Or I don't think he ever told me.
Yeah, you never know until you actually get to know someone,
So he grew up in poverty too.
Yeah.
I guess one of my big questions is he had told me when he was here earlier this year that he still hadn't spoke to his parents in 10 years.
Yeah.
They don't even know his kids.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, for you, is that something, do you forgive your mom?
Again, I didn't have much of a relationship with my mom because growing up, I always, disliked being home because I didn't have the love or attention.
Yeah.
Where I'm at today, I always understood, she raised me to be tough, strong. Not because she had a choice, but she had no choice, And, I understand what can she do with me, in her situation. It's easy for me to put myself in her shoes the older I get,
Yeah.
And I understand, she wasn't dealt the best, hand either in life. She come over here, doesn't know English, raised me alone, she couldn't give me anything.
Yeah.
It was tough because,
and that's at a time too when she came over. It's probably easier for people that come over now to get a job or to get started with all the programs they have. But back then, man, it was
even now with school, it's
you're on your own.
Kids that are minorities is you blended in. You're blended in now.
Yeah,
it's normal to go to school to see a lot of mixed races.
Yeah,
for me going to school, it was not. And part of me joining a gang was starting a gang is we want to be not messed with. We didn't want to tolerate that, and we had a lot of pride, and obviously the pride was what gets you in trouble, just bad influences at the time because none of us knew any better.
Yeah,
but with my mom, it's just one of those things where now that I have kids, her grandkids, she knows how to love, give them attention, affectionate. I didn't have that, but for me to see that now, it's very rewarding, but it's easy again when I say it's easy to be a good person when you have money, when you're able to give. It's hard to be selfish and not want to give when you have it, compared to it's easy to be a bad person when you don't have nothing because you're only going to be thinking about how you're going to get your next meal. We have no money. How do we cheat the system? How do we get out of this? You're surrounded by your environment, and how do you get out? I had to cheat my way out pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And that came with a cost, and again, also, with karma, life is full circle. What comes around goes around. I deserve to be confiscated my whole entire life, because I shouldn't be on the streets, but I was locked up enough to where I got it, I need to be a good member of my community, I need to have purpose and, just, it just changes you, especially having kids. And now I'm at the point in my life where I avoid drama, I don't have anything to prove. As a kid, I had so much to prove, I wanted to be badass. For what though? I'm living in that moment, I'm just living in that moment of, wanting to be cool, but what is cool? Cool is, it only lasts so long, And now that I'm at this age, it's irrelevant,
Yeah.
So yeah, but the thing of what even with my dad, he took a different path. You know, my dad, he when he left my mom and I, he had a good life. He had a good life in Florida. You know, he's with somebody that was, you know, they were millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so for my dad to be like, you know, be a millionaire, and here I am as a kid growing up struggling, like it's one of those things where like I'll never understand. You know, as a kid, I wanted my dad
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know any better. You know, he would tell me he loves me. You know, well, I never see him, but he will call me on my birthday. He made me feel special. So for me, it's like, dang, I want to be with my dad. My dad loves me. My mom, she don't tell me she loves me. All she does is bitch and yell at me, you know, because, you know, she doesn't know any better. You know, she's
Yeah.
telling me your dad don't love you, but I don't believe that because my dad tells me he loves me.
Yeah.
So as a kid, it's like, that's,
You got all these
yeah.
different head
Yeah.
games.
So as a kid, I
with
always
you,
wanted
too.
my dad.
Okay.
So I was raised thinking like, you know, my dad, I wish I had my dad in my life.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's funny how things play out because if I were to have my dad in my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had to grow up on my own. I became a man on my own, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So now, you know, it's funny because he once had it all and now he has nothing.
Okay.
He lives in Florida. So, you know, my job, you know, I have kids. My job now is, you know, to show him that, you know, you have grandkids. For my peace, I want him to know that I'm doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Because for his peace, you know, obviously, you know, he knows that he didn't live such a good life. You know, it caught up to him. You know, he's in a situation where like he has nothing, you know, and it's, you know, of his own choices. You know, he has
Yeah.
gambling habits, you know, and he's always, you know, struggling, you know, he's reaching out, asking me for money. And I'm like, dang, you know, like you don't even know me.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's for my peace, you know, and I could have easily followed his footsteps.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have been if I didn't go to prison. Like, you know, I got lucky in weird ways, you know. So now it's just more so like, you know, it's perspective on life. I put myself in my dad's shoes. I put myself. I'm at the point where I'm always being considerate and putting myself in other people's shoes. You know why. You know, I question why they are that the way that they are. I like analyzing people. That's why I play a lot of poker. You know, it's like it's a gift where like, you know, I love, and this is why I wanted to be here too. You know, it gives me a chance to tell my story. You know, and it's just, you know, very humbling. You know.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And then you had mentioned too when you were in one of the juvenile homes or boys homes or with the structure there too.
Yeah.
Yes. But it seems like to me that I guess maybe what did turn you was you seem to care. You seem to care about others.
Yeah, because
I mean,
my most important thing is because
your story doesn't. I mean, you see it. You know, it comes up on news as this person
yeah,
from jail to
Yeah.
business owner.
you
But
see the Cape News,
that's
but
not a.
yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people don't get out of the system.
No, they
you
don't.
know,
they're
so
stuck. You know.
when you did decide to make, you know, changes in your
Yeah.
life and
I have the
be a
chance to,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, be
have
a
the chance
family
to.
man and business owner and
and I got to live both lives. You know.
yeah,
And there's that's in between, but I'm fortunate enough to always remember having nothing.
yeah,
And then now I'm blessed because I feel like I have everything.
yeah,
I still struggle with like, dang, how do I, you know, make more money? But my struggles now is like, how do I make more money to give back? You know,
yeah,
I'm blessed to be where like my kids are well taken care of, you know, and now it's just like I I know what it feels like to have everything, and it's so easy to want to do better, be better. You know, I don't have the struggles of being poor. You know,
yeah,
those people and it's normal for a lot of people too that are poor because they don't know what it feels like to have money. You know,
yeah,
so you know I'm at a point in my life where like, you know, it's just about growth. I had
yeah.
the chance to grow, you know.
Okay,
I had a chance to grow.
man.
And then, you know, I preach to my friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, some of the friends I still have around is like, you know, at one point they were role models in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here I am. Like now I want to make a difference, you know, with my friends. Even when I came home, you know, my group of friends, some of the younger generation, they're like, hey, you know, what's up? like we're gonna put our gang back on. No, that's not how you do things no more.
Yeah.
It's all about getting along with one another. It's just living right. My whole thing is you got to live right. We didn't know any better as kids. Now that we do know, we have to act on it.
Yeah.
You can't just a lot of things. You have a lot of people in your life that are, some of my friends that I still have, they're very scandalous. In ways because they never were able to get out of that lifestyle. I have friends that are still drug addicts. Like, I wish I could help you, but it's one of those things where I can't help you if you don't want to be helped.
Yep.
Like I'll help you get on your feet, but if you're still out here trying to hustle and trying to do drugs, it's like I have no use for you in my life.
And sometimes that, you feel bad, but that's got to click for them. Like I have to want to help myself before.
Yep. And I preach that to all my friends.
All of us have had that.
I have a couple friends now that they're doing well.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is it's back to your environment, your surroundings, who you're with. Your main group of friends. That's who your future is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So now my future is my family, my close friends. Obviously, if I want to be in a better situation, well, how do I do that? I got to go find some positive role models and be around them every day to learn how they're doing things,
Yeah.
But for me, I'm comfortable now.
Okay.
But my thing is just how do I, still want to be better, I'm never comfortable. I want greed in a positive way.
Right. To be able to give back.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
It's not, for me anymore. My life's not going to change if I have, okay, I can't say it's not going to change if I have like 10 million, but it's not going to, my life is the people that I'm around, it's going to be the same people, it's going to be my family, and close friends. It's like, that's all that really matters. My whole purpose is just my kids grow up to live a good life. And now how do I make a difference for the rest of the world, because again, my life, I'm halfway through it. What's important to me when I'm 70 or 80 years old is not, how I look to somebody anymore. It's about how do I, leave this world in a better place, like my energy is, life here is temporary, but for me, I feel like your energy is forever,
Yeah. Yep.
It's ever going, and what do I do with my time here,
Yeah.
And so now I'm always very conscious of leaving this world in a better way,
Yeah. Making any kind of impact.
Because I'm not thinking about this stuff when I'm 15 years old, like
right.
I don't give a fuck. But now I'm like,
yeah.
Now I was like, man, it matters, everything matters to me now,
Yeah, when you think back on it when you get older, of somebody said something to you along the way, and you're like, yeah, they were right.
Yeah,
I should have listened, but I didn't.
It's just how you are able to interpret a message, to where someone can understand. And sometimes it takes more than once,
Yeah.
You can tell your kids something, or sometimes somebody else needs to tell them, or who, it's like, who are they reaching out to? Who is it that, is important to them? Because, sometimes from your parents, it's not enough. Or, my mom can tell me something, but I'm not going to listen to her. It took me a while to understand,
Yeah. Yep. I tried when I tell my son something sometimes, like, I always figure like maybe it didn't register right now, but maybe it will in 20 years. Like he'll think back or something like that. So just.
Yeah. You can only do your part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would ask you more questions about it, but I don't want to take away from your story of how this was. So, yeah, man, you're welcome back anytime. If you or do you have anything else to?
Oh no, like I said,
okay.
I enjoyed this. I enjoy storytelling because my life today is completely different from what it used to be.
It is, yeah.
I live a good life now to where like, my day-to-day struggles is really irrelevant to what the youth that are struggling is going through. It's a big difference, So, my purpose now is, how do I do more, and that's so, yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks, Zach, very much for coming and tell your story. So
it's a chance for me to always remind myself of where I've come from, how far I've come along, and that's the goal is to for the younger generation, like, hey, if I made it, you can make it. It's just what are you going to do with your time, you know?
Yeah.
Who you want to be around, you know? It's going to shape your future.
The want to and the, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for your story, man.
Yep, no
Appreciate
problem,
it.
man.